Life is Art is dedicated to bringing you insightful commentary on art, culture, and life. To support the podcast, feel free to make a monetary donation or purchase our official Life is Art merchandise at the link in the description. Your donation helps us to reach a wider audience and helps us to gain traction in the world of social media. Thank you for your viewership and support. Life is Art. Art moving at the speed of life. Life moving at the speed of art. For many artists, love exists in a time of infatuation. And many times, the artist is romanticized to be this mythical figure that possesses extreme depth and a certain sense of humanity that is almost godlike in its existence. The truth is that many artists are just people. They're people that deal with things that are what everyday human beings do. They have vices, they have flaws, they eat, they sleep, they're restless, and they're uncertain. The allure of the artist, however, never ceases to sustain, and it never ceases to endure. And it's an unfortunate area for artists when they get into the realm of romance. In a way, this is a spiritual successor to a 3-part series I did on the relationship between practical people who choose to love artists and the artists that choose to love them back. In the world of the artists, the same rules don't necessarily apply as to other people. Many artists are broke in a world where we look for financial stability, but many rules are broken and reworked for the artist or to have access to the artist. And I can speak on this because I am an artist. And I'll be honest, I've had my fair share of love and heartbreak. I've had my fair share of victories in love and defeats in love. But all of those relationships, they have one thing in common: an over-romanification of who they thought I was. And it's a very tall order because I think creative people are looked at as somebody to edify the other person. And that doesn't always happen. And once a person realizes that the artist isn't this mystical figure, I think there's a certain amount of disillusionment that happens. I think there's disappointment, there's resentment, there's all these different emotions that were brought about by romanticizing something to be something that it's not. I'm an artist. I'm also a person. I may perceive certain things differently, but make no mistakes about it, I am a vessel of flaws. And I think many people look to the artist, romantically speaking, as a vessel of escape, as a beacon of romantic hope. And I think that's why they make the concessions that they do. And when they find out that the artist is none of that, many people regret the concessions that they made. I have friends that have, been in on the battlefield of love. And many of the artists, particularly male friends that I have, they have a very similar story. And it's never a situation to where something ends explosively, but rather with a whimper and a fizzle. And those relationships, while they don't end explosively, the effect that they have, or that I've seen them have on artist friends, have been devastating. Because here's the mystery, and here's the truth, or rather, the truth to the mystery. The artist can never live up to who he's perceived to be in the mind of the person that is infatuated with the artist. The artist can never live up to that person. And there's always going to be disappointment behind finding out an artist is just a person. Does this mean that the artist can't find love? No, but the artist is going to have to become aware of what a person believes this person to be as opposed to who the artist actually is. And you're going to have to do that for both you and the person who loves you or the person who's infatuated with you. Because really, if we're very honest about the time that we live in, we're living in a time of infatuation. Love is existing in a time of infatuation, and we love in an infatuated way as opposed a whole and complete way. And the artist makes this very easy to happen. Many are enigmas. Hell, some artists don't even understand themselves. There are days that I don't really get what motivates me to create. I don't understand some of the magic that happens. I'll go 1 minute not knowing how to do something creatively to where the next moment I am an expert at something that I wasn't 10 minutes ago. It just comes to you. And this is that mystical part that people fall in love with. The act of creativity, it guides you. Your hand does some things and you create these pieces and these sculptures that have these qualities to them. And the person infatuated with the artist comes to think that the artist is in that mode as a default setting. They're not. They're not. I think personally, over the course of, my romantic endeavors, I've disappointed a lot of people. And when I look back comparatively, those nights of pillow talk where you speak with your significant other, your partner, and you talk about your past loves. I know that's probably a mistake to do, but many of us do it, and we say it only in passing, and we ask questions where we really don't want the answer to, where you talk about how relationships end and how they fell apart. While many of my relationships were nothing nearly as catastrophic as what was described to me, the impact that I had on a person when the love came to an end was different. And many women that I dated told me the same. They said that it hurt more than the others. And it wasn't. And here's the thing. Now, here's where ego can come into play. And you're like, oh my gosh, I was more, uh, you loved me more. No, it wasn't a person being loved more. It was the expectation and the disappointment of finding out that you were human that devastated them. Because sometimes people feel like this is my last chance. And who better to get me and understand me than somebody who spends all of their time trying to understand human nature because they draw from that for their creativity. They don't know that we burp and watch ball games. They don't know that. And I speak from a male perspective. I'll be honest about that because I can't speak for women. I have never been a woman in my entire life. I put that on everything that I believe. I have never been a woman in my entire life. So I can't begin to speak for a woman. I can only speak for the perspective of being a man or a man who happens to be an artist. And I find the safest area to stay is in the distance and giving the world access to my creativity and nothing more. I find that vulnerability is sometimes my undoing. And while I've never set out to disappoint anybody, I can't stop a person from romanticizing who and what they think I am. I've spoken with friends about the artist Fizzle. And let me tell you, artists are extremely dangerous. Since they don't have to live by those rules, they have access as far as the dating hierarchy that everybody else doesn't have. And I told a guy I knew one time. I told him something. Um, Anybody who has known me a long time has known that most of my life I've been a professional pedestrian. I take public transportation. I do all these things. I don't have a lot of money. I'm not particularly healthy, but I've had no trouble dating because I've always been exempt from the rules. I've always been exempt from the things that other people are expected to have. And I said something to this guy. He was surprised at all my deficiencies. And I said, how many women have actually dated you? And this is one thing: when a woman sees you, not what you have, this is where you begin to understand how deeply a lot of women look at an artist. They look at this artist as something very different. My question was, how many women have dated you? And he said, oh, maybe, I don't know, 10. And I said, no, how many women have dated you? And he said, well, I don't get you. I just told you 10. I said, at any point, did they ever date you when you didn't have? And I went down the list of items. And it dawned on him, no. I said, my friend, they're dating what you have, not who you are. And I believe the only thing that an artist has the advantage of over the guy who has is that unsaid thing that many women hope that artist possesses, that connection to something ethereal and magical that a terrestrial earthbound man doesn't have. And I think that's why a lot of women fall hard for artists, and when the breakup happens, it's difficult because I believe they go in with all of their uh, their emotions stacked on this experience being something that, to be honest, no human being is capable of maintaining. Thus, the illusion is broken and the heart breaks with it. But I can't say that because everyone who's ever dated me actually did date me, that I might very well be undateable. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many bodies. There wouldn't be so many people that are past tense. And I think perhaps it is better to remain that enigma. And I think that's the place of many artists, is to remain something magical for people to believe in, but not necessarily have, because then they'll discover the secret. None of us are magical. I'd love to know your thoughts as an artist, and I'd love to know your experiences. Please let others know about this small but growing channel, and you can do so by sharing, liking, and subscribing. And there's more to being an artist than just the paintbrush. Love is a curious thing, and artists are even more curious. Share your thoughts. Until the next time, take care.